This is a recipe that I came up with one summer when we had a bumper crop of eggplant from the backyard garden. With 8 billion people on the planet, I have no doubt that someone else has probably already made this recipe, but I came up with this myself, so here we go. Now we have a name for this dish that we call it at our house, but I'm not going to tell you that till the end of the video. Pay attention to the ingredients and the seasonings that go into this dish and see if you can figure out what the name is before the end of the video. So these eggplants are not from my garden, they're from the grocery store. It's winter time here in Iowa. One tip that'll keep your eggplants fresher longer is to wrap them up in plastic wrap like this when you get them home from the grocery store. They'll last in your fridge several days longer than they would otherwise. These are the Black Beauty variety is what I call these kind of eggplants, and there are the Japanese style eggplants too, which are good also. They have less seeds and have a slightly different flavor, but either kind of eggplant works good for this recipe. I've made it with both. The best way I've found to get the skin off the eggplant is with a knife. Just cut both ends off, give myself a flat surface to put down on the cutting board, and then just go from top to bottom, slicing little strips of the skin off with a knife. And then I'm going to cut the eggplant lengthwise into spears and then cut across those spears to make cubes. At this stage I want these to be pretty big chunks, about 2 inches or so. When they cook, it's really going to cook down, so the bigger chunks here are going to end up being really small chunks in the end. You'll see. And those are going to go into a casserole dish. I prefer to use a somewhat deep casserole dish for this rather than a wide shallow dish. If you don't have a deep casserole dish, maybe a Dutch oven style pot would work good, or any kind of oven safe pot really. But those chunked up eggplants are going to go into the casserole dish. No oil, no seasonings, anything like that. They're going to go right into the oven, uncovered, 400 degrees. While that's happening, I'm going to brown some sausage. This is Italian sausage. This is my preferred meat for this dish. I have done it with ground beef also, but Italian sausage is so much better. But if you don't like sausage, I go with ground beef as a substitute. Next, I'm going to chop up a bell pepper and an onion. If you don't like peppers and onions, you can skip this step, but we like the peppers and onions in there. Sometimes I'll even put mushrooms in there too. That's really good. But I'm going to dice up these peppers and onions just as if I were getting them ready to put on a pizza. And those peppers and onions are going to go in the pan with the sausage. Give that a little mix up and put the lid on, let everything come up to temperature. We're going to cook this sausage and vegetables here until they're thoroughly cooked and the bulk of the moisture from the vegetables has evaporated. But after a couple minutes, I'm going to pull the lid off and go ahead and mash up this meat with this potato masher. I like to break up the meat into smaller chunks, but if you'd like to have big chunks of meat in there instead, you can do that. I'm going to add a few seasonings here too, some salt and some pepper and some garlic powder. And the spice that's going to give this dish its signature flavor is oregano. I'm going to put lots of oregano in here. This is going to make this dish really delicious. And if you like a little heat, some crushed red pepper is excellent in this, but if that's not for you, just skip that part. So I'm just going to cook the meat and vegetables down until the onions and peppers are thoroughly softened and most of the excess moisture is kind of evaporated from the pan. And into that, I'm going to add 2 15-ounce cans of tomato sauce. Give that a mix up and put the lid back on and wait for that to come up to a simmer. And once that's simmering, I'll give it another quick little mix up and then just leave the lid off and turn the burner off. Now it's time to get that eggplant out of the oven. It's been in there about 15 minutes or so while I was cooking the sausage and the peppers and onions. As you can see, the exposed edges and corners have gotten browned a little bit, and it's kind of dried out a little bit too. A lot of the moisture has kind of evaporated out of that eggplant. Eggplant has a lot of water in it, and doing this pre-cooking step will just end up providing a better result at the end. I'm going to go ahead and dump that tomato sauce mixture right on top of those eggplant cubes, and those are going to go back into the 400 degree oven, uncovered again, for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, you can see I've got some good bubbling going on here. I'm going to add some mozzarella cheese on top. In addition to the mozzarella, some grated Parmesan on top of that would be good too, but I'm just doing mozzarella here today. Back into the oven it goes for another 10 to 15 minutes, just until that cheese gets melted and browned a little bit on top. And here it is. As you can see, the cheese is all melted and a little browned on top. We've got lots of bubbling action here. This thing is hot lava. And a critical step at this point in this dish is to let it sit and rest for like a minimum of 10 minutes. As it rests, it's going to come together and thicken. And trust me, you don't want to skip this step. Just be patient. Give it about 10 minutes. If you don't give it time to rest, it's going to be watery. But here it is. This is basically a nice thick casserole with all the flavors that you would find in a good pizza. And that's what we call this, pizza eggplant. A little bit of Parmesan cheese on top and a nice piece of crusty bread goes perfectly with this. I hope you found